So, what happens when one of America's top AI companies basically tells the US military, no? Well, the fallout is swift, it's severe, and it's happening right now. We're going to break down this incredible clash between Anthropic and the Pentagon, a fight that's really all about who gets to control our most powerful new technologies.
Okay, so let's get right into it. How exactly did one of the most promising AI labs on the planet end up in the government's crosshairs? Well, things escalated incredibly fast.
And then, bam, it all just blew up with this post on Truth Social. President Trump didn't just voice his displeasure, he issued a direct order, painting this whole thing as an ideological fight and calling for a complete government-wide ban on all of Anthropic's tech.
And make no mistake, this was way more than just a social media post. That threat became very, very real when the Pentagon formally slapped Anthropic with the label of supply chain risk. Now that's an official designation, and believe me, it carries some seriously heavy consequences.
So you're probably asking, what does that actually mean? Well, this designation is a huge deal. It's a tool the government usually reserves for foreign companies they see as a threat, think Russia's Kaspersky or China's Huawei. To turn around and use it on an American company, especially over a contract dispute, that is pretty much unheard of.
The potential fallout for Anthropic is, and I'm not exaggerating here, catastrophic. We're talking about way more than just losing a contract. This designation could trigger what's called a secondary boycott. That means key partners, like Amazon and Google, the companies that literally provide the cloud computing they need to exist, could be forced to cut them off completely. One person called it industrial excommunication. It's basically a move designed to wipe them off the map.
But here's the thing. This wasn't really a fight about money or project deadlines. This was a deep, fundamental clash over principles. It was all about what this powerful AI technology should, and more importantly, shouldn't be used for.
Okay, this slide right here, this is what it all boils down to. The Pentagon wanted a contract that gave them access for all lawful purposes, basically a blank check. But Anthropic said no. They drew two very specific red lines in the sand. Their tech couldn't be used for mass surveillance of Americans, and it couldn't be used for fully autonomous weapons that operate without a human in the loop.
Anthropic's CEO, Dario Amodei, put it very bluntly. He said they just couldn't agree to it in good conscience. His argument was that the AI we have today, these frontier models, they're just not reliable enough for something like an autonomous weapon, where one little mistake could have lethal consequences.
Now, the Pentagon's response from their CTO, Emil Michael, was a classic national security argument. He basically said, look, you have to trust the military to do the right thing. And maybe more to the point, we have to keep up with what our adversaries, like China, are doing. The implication is that the U.S. can't afford to let a private company's ethics get in the way of national defense.
You know, what's really fascinating here is that this is a battle over the moral design of a technology. See, Anthropic literally built its ethical guardrails right into the AI's core architecture. The Pentagon wasn't just asking to use a product, they were demanding the power to rip out that ethical code whenever they wanted. That is a huge, huge deal.
So, a private American tech company staring down the U.S. government all over a matter of principle and national security, does that sound kind of familiar? Well, it should, because we have seen this exact type of high-stakes showdown before. Yep, let's turn back the clock a few years to 2016. The fight was between the FBI and, well, the biggest tech company on the entire planet, Apple.
So, you might remember this. After the San Bernardino attack in 2015, the FBI had the shooter's iPhone, but it was locked. They couldn't get in. So they went to a court and they got an order demanding that Apple help them. But then, Tim Cook publicly refused, and what started as a criminal investigation suddenly became this massive global debate about privacy. In the end, the FBI backed down, but only because they found someone else who could hack the phone for them.
And the legal fight was just wild. To try and force Apple's hand, the FBI dusted off a law called the All Writs Act. The crazy part? It was written in 1789. So you had this bizarre situation of lawyers arguing about how a law from the era of quill pens should apply to an encrypted iPhone. But here's the absolute crucial point. The FBI didn't just ask for data. They ordered Apple to engineer a brand new, custom version of its own software. Some people started calling it FBOS. That was designed specifically to break its own security features. They were demanding that Apple build a master key, a backdoor into every single iPhone.
So when you put these two cases, Anthropic versus the Pentagon and Apple versus the FBI, side by side, you start to see this recurring tension. It's a conflict that's really at the heart of our modern digital world.
And just look at the parallels here. They're striking, right? Back in 2016, the fight was over data encryption. Today, it's about AI safety guardrails. The government demanded Apple build a backdoor. Now it's demanding Anthropic remove its built-in ethics. Apple's principle was protecting user privacy. Anthropic's is upholding the moral design of its technology. Even the weapons are similar. The FBI used a law from 1789, and the Pentagon is using a modern bureaucratic designation. Both are tools to force a company's hand.
This image just perfectly captures the core dilemma, doesn't it? It's this constant balancing act. On one side, you have the very real needs of national security. And on the other, you have these fundamental principles of privacy, safety, and a company's right to build ethics into its own creation.
When you step back and look at both of these cases, the message from the government is pretty unmistakable. And honestly, it's a little chilling. It's basically saying, yes, please, build secure products, build ethical AI. That's great. But just know that those ethics and that security are optional. They only apply until we, the government, decide they don't.
And all of this leaves us with a huge, and frankly, unresolved question. As our technology gets more and more powerful, from encrypted phones to truly autonomous AI, the stakes just keep getting higher, and the question becomes more urgent than ever. Who gets the final say on how it's used? The people who create it or the state?
Thank you for listening, and we look forward to seeing you again soon. If you derived value from our content, please consider sharing it with the world. Goodbye, and continue learning.